Hey there and welcome. This is Father Marcus from the Costa Blanca Anglican Chaplaincy, wishing you well, hoping that you're feeling okay, hoping that you're making the most of this beautiful sunshine that we've got and trying to find moments of happiness and joy every day. Not always easy, but there are plenty of things that there are still to be joyful about, so hopefully you're experiencing some of those. Tomorrow is that great feast of the Ascension, the glorious Ascension, when Jesus ascends back into heaven. And let me just put it into context. We've had obviously the resurrection, and then the resurrection appearances from Jesus, from the people in the garden on that very first day, through to Jesus appearing with those disciples on the road to Emmaus, spending time with them, and then them recognizing him in the breaking of the bread. We've got Jesus appearing to the disciples in the upper room when there's just 10 of them there and Thomas is not there. And then Jesus appearing again the following week when Thomas is there. And that lovely story about Thomas struggling with the idea and then being able to proclaim my Lord and my God. And then Jesus having breakfast with them by the Sea of Galilee, and Jesus with James and John, and now they're up at the mountain, and it's the time when Jesus has to leave this earthly ministry. It has to come to an end. It just can't go on and on and on and on and on. And how long is it going to go on for with Jesus in this physical being, although it's obviously very different? And so the theology is, and the story is, that Jesus goes back whence he came, goes back to be with the Father in heaven. And it's depicted in this story of Jesus up on the mountain, and this cloud covered them. It's no ordinary cloud. This is one of the glorious clouds that we have in scriptures that reveals something of the wonderful nature of God. And Jesus goes from their sight. But before he goes, he says, I am with you always until the end of time. And we're in that moment now where Jesus has promised to be with us until the end of time, but physically it seems as if he's gone. I want to just go on for a slight tangent, if I may. There is in the UK a very beautiful place called Walsingham, sometimes described as England's Nazareth. And it's a place of pilgrimage. It's in Norfolk, and people flock there all during the year, and they have a great national pilgrimage there every year. And there are a number of different chapels, and there's a well and all sorts of stuff. And it attracts people of all ages, but in particular times it attracts young people. And I remember going there with a youth group many, many years ago. And we were staying in the rooms that they've got there. And there is a chapel dedicated to the Ascension. And we were going to have a Eucharist in this chapel, and I was celebrating the Eucharist, and the youth group were in the pews in front of me. And up above where the altar is, it's a Victorian sort of building, and it's Victorian quiche or whatever the word is. And up above on the ceiling, this is the Chapel of the Ascension, there's clouds painting in the ceiling. There's a little pair of feet hanging down from the ceiling, as if just caught Jesus disappearing up there. I tell you what, the kids in the youth club, when they saw that, they had a fit of the giggles, like, you know, when you can't stop yourself and you're just bursting, and they're trying to be deep and trying to be serious and trying to be all meaningful, but it was just these little feet sticking out of the ceiling. Eventually, I was in with the giggles as well, and we all had to couldn't stop ourselves. We had to let it out. And I have a slight concern about that sort of imagery, because it keeps in place that moment. But the moment is not designed to be kept in place. The moment is a prequel for the next bit, the bit that comes after. And the two things that come after, of course, there's the sending of the Holy Spirit, and we're going to celebrate that, of course, at Pentecost, so on Sunday week. But the whole concept of Jesus finishing this earthly ministry in order that something else can happen. And there's that lovely old famous play, the Trial of Jesus, where the Pilate's wife and the proconsul are in conversation, and she says to him, do you think he's dead? And he says, no, lady, I don't think he's dead. And she says, well, where do you think he is? And he says, he's let loose in all the world. And that's what the Ascension does for us. It allows us to not think of Jesus at a place and a time in history, ministering to certain people, however wonderful and great that is, but that he is let loose in all the world, throughout time, in all places. And we do believe, as Christians, we do believe that he is with us always until the end of time. And that gives us a whole new way of thinking. You know, we talk about being in the presence of Jesus. We talk about walking with him on pilgrimage and other places. We do talk about taking himself into us when we receive our communion and recognizing him in the breaking of the bread. We don't think about him walking with us in that physical way, but the ascension allows us to go beyond that into the mystery of the essence of Christ being with us wherever we are and whoever we are and wherever we go. And we remember those other messages of Jesus that we've had in John's Gospel up until now about dwelling in him and him dwelling in us. And the Feast of the Ascension allows for that transition from the physical into the spiritual, into the emotional, into the religious, into the moment of faith, into the all-encompassing presence of God. It is without doubt a remarkable feast. And there's no wonder that people talk about the glorious ascension. So that's what we would celebrate in our church tomorrow. And our homework, because I like to give you homework, our homework is to recognize the presence of Christ in our lives as we go about whatever it is that we're doing. So whatever it is that you're planning to do today, do it knowing that you're not doing it alone, that you're not doing it having to deal with every issue on your own. You haven't got to solve all of the problems of the world on your own, but you can walk another step on this spiritual pilgrimage and Camino that we're all on, knowing that we are being led by Christ who holds our hand. Bless you, bless you, bless you. Have a wonderful feast day tomorrow. Until next time.